I've been curious to ask if there is such a thing as art and music on the non-physical plane, or how do you express your thought on a non-physical plane?
Art and music are physical translations of vibration. And certainly there is vibration on non-physical plane, but it is not translated into that which you would call, or that which you know as art or music. It is interesting that you are beginning here, for it was last conversation our friends were having as they were driving, talking about blocks of thought, and how on the physical plane, physical creatures want to articulate blocks of thought. Unless it can be spoken in word, most of you do not even identify it with thought. And yet you are vibrating at a level of thought that most of you cannot articulate. Beliefs that you have picked up along the way that are subtle but vibrational, affecting your experience because vibrationally they are affecting your environment of attraction. And yet, because you cannot or do not articulate them, you do not understand your attraction association with them. And so, what we're about these days, as we're interacting with our physical friends, is helping you to understand how it is that you are attracting without trying so hard to identify what it is you are thinking, but rather feel how you are vibrating. Just as the scientist in his laboratory creates the perfect environment for whatever he's trying to grow or encourage. As you think, no matter what level of it you're doing it, even at an unconscious level, as you think, you vibrate. And as you vibrate, you set up an environment, an emotional, vibrational environment of attraction, which allows some things and disallows other things. The only way really of knowing how you're vibrating is by being sensitive to how you're feeling. And so that is the emphasis that we're applying as powerfully as we can through words, is pay attention to the way you're feeling. If you feel less than good, know that you are allowing, by virtue of your vibration, something you don't want, and then deliberately give yourself to your thought or focus to something that feels better to you. It is an easier way of connecting what you're vibrating with what you're getting. What brings forth your question?
I seem to be giving a lot of thought to non-physical and what it might be like. Because most of my life I've been creative in one way or another. And I seek different ways of being creative at different times in my life.
The biggest difference between the non-physical and the physical relative to creation is that non-physical focus is purely state of being, where physical focus is more often, it doesn't benefit you very well, but more often your physical focus is that of doing or having. And as you put your emphasis upon the doing or the having, you very often disconnect from the being that you really are. We call you human beings. You call yourselves that. Nobody calls you a human doing or a human having. You are human beings, and we refer to your non-physical counterpart as inner being because it is your beingness that is the basis of you. And all of the doing and all of the having is for the enhancement of that. And so if you are wanting, and we believe that the reason that you are coming forth with these sorts of questions is because more and more you are transitioning, you are integrating more fully on a deliberate conscious basis your non-physical perspective into this physical body. And so much of the time you are vibrating and feeling the non-physical perspective. And you may even feel like you're losing your grip a little bit about the physical, because have you noticed that a lot of the stuff that you used to do that seemed really important doesn't feel all that important. In other words, a lot of your ideas about the importance of things are shifting as being becomes a greater issue. We were watching our friends as they made their last excursion through the state of California. And Esther has, Jerry too, but it is more Esther's wanting, has a sort of pattern of places that are her favorites all along the way. Here we do this, here we do this, here we do this, places to eat, places to shop, places to shop, places to shop. And as they came to one of Esther's favorite places to shop, it is a card shop. They have stationery and cards. And over the years, Esther has spent many hours there and purchased many boxes, some boxes still remaining unopened in closets. More cards than this lifetime would allow her to write on and send already in the closet. And yet, as they are passing through there, Esther must stop at this card shop. And so, as she's looking around this time, she did not feel very good there, relative to the way she is accustomed to feeling these days. And so she said, I'm ready to leave when you are. And they got into the car. And Esther said, why am I not having fun in there? And we said to her, you have over the years used this card shop and others as a means of temporarily filling a void. And now the void no longer exists. You do not feel reason, nor do you feel relief. What you are feeling as you are there, you are remembering that now unconscious, subconscious, long ago vibration of lack. Just being in this place brings forth those vibrations within you, you see. Most physical beings feel a very stark difference between their physical perspective and what they remember as their inner perspective. Right before you emerged into these bodies, you were vibrating in a place of pure positive energy, you see. And in the moment of your emergence, where your consciousness became focused through this vibrating vessel, you found yourself vibrating with those who had come before you on the physical plane, more vulnerable, more guarded, more defensive, more resistant, and less in harmony with that pure well-being that you knew. So then you spend the rest of your life trying to get back to that place of well-being. And the way you do it is by trying to fill the void. You feel it by eating something, or by drinking something, or by taking a drug, or by finding someone's approval, or by buying one more thing and bringing it home. A sort of temporary satisfying of a void, not long-term, but a temporary satisfying of a void. Then what happens as you begin, as you are, to give your attention to how you are feeling, so that more of the time you are in harmony with the vibration of your inner being, because you are looking for reasons to feel good, there is less of that void that is being felt by you, and so less reason to perform the old behavior that you used to use to fill the void. Are you getting a sense of what we are saying? We do not believe that you are looking at non-physical is anything other than you're becoming more of that energy.
What really, I think, and I wasn't even aware of it when I asked the question, it was trying to get to that point, but it's been very recently that I became aware, and I don't know if it was really conscious or not, of a connection to my inner being and to a time right before I was born.
Of absolute well-being.
Mm-hmm. And how being born separated me from that, and it sort of, in a sense, made me aware of what a trauma being born is, or felt like, or it was like I was really totally aware that I was more than just a body.
Good.
And still am.
Good. We agree. That is the basis of your question.
A man yesterday during the intermission in Dallas said he was a scientist, and he asked me, he said, has anyone ever asked Abraham about art or music and the non-physical? And I said, no. It interests me that the very next day someone would ask the question, but he didn't ask. I said, ask Abraham. He said, well, what do you feel? I said, well,
Was he talking about it on the earth plane?
No, I think he felt out of the earth plane, and I said, all I know is when there's music, certain types of music, Abraham seems to get very excited, and suddenly Esther's body will be dancing, or if we're in the car will start rocking. as they're just dancing her body all over the front seat. If I'm driving, if she's driving, it's still a wild adventure. But and at the home, she's just dancing from room to room to room. Her body's just going all over with you in it. But I didn't know what that meant. I just said, that's the only thing I see. I see a specific reaction to music, but it's a music that Esther enjoys anyway to begin with.
And that is what you are recognizing there. Okay. When Esther hears music, and so she focuses upon something purely positive to her, her passageway is open.
Right.
And when her passageway is open, then Abraham has access to her physical vessel. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Abraham has access to her physical vessel under any and all conditions. Your inner beings are within you. It's not a question about whether your inner being is within you. Unless they pronounce you dead, your inner being is within you. The fact that you do not lie awake in your bed at night and concentrate on keeping your blood flowing or the oxygen moving is an indicator that someone is minding the store from a broader perspective, you see. The question that we are offering and wanting you to respond to with your knowing and answer is, how much are you allowing of your inner being through you? How wide is your passageway? Are you allowing the fullness of that pure positive energy to flow through you, or are you restricting it with thoughts of lack? It is only a thought of lack that ever restricts any of that energy. And so very often when hearing music, you are less resistant, you are less lackful. Well-being is your natural state. Absolute wellness, that's who you are. Pure, positive energy, like a cork, always will rise to the surface. Unless you are focused upon negative thought, which holds the cork under the water, it will float to the surface. And so, music is an avenue to that.
And so, why is it then that you dance her body so strongly to certain tunes and not at all to most tunes?
Because some tunes are written from such point of joy that Esther is vibrationally receptive to that. In other words, as you interact, some music is written from a place of lack. Some are feeling very blocked, very rebellious, very angry as they produce their music, while some are very open. And so just as you walk into a room and you interact with some and you can feel their openness more than others, the vibration is transmitted through the music. Everyone that is involved with it has a part. In other words, the dreamer of the music, the one who envisioned it to begin with and translated it upon the page, the musicians then that are drawn to that become vibrational part of it. Then the performers that are adding the voice and whatever become a part of it. And then Esther, as she hears it, becomes a vibrational part of it. You see, everyone involved with it along the way. And as you are understanding law of attraction, usually someone feeling very angry and rebellious as they create music would attract that same vibrational being who would now produce the music, who would perform the music, and it attracts disconnected people who want to hear the music. You see, everything is about vibration, and you are all parts of those chains of vibration.
In the early days, it was very significant to me the difference in when you were driving the car and when Esther was driving the car. In other words, you always drove more to my pleasure than Esther. You keep a safer distance behind other cars. You don't hit the brakes as hard or abruptly and things like that, whereas Esther drives just a little different than I would drive, whereas you drive more like I would drive. And so,
she's a maniac, we ignore her.
But I mean, there was a very distinct difference, but as the years have gone by, I never noticed that you're driving anymore, or that or I don't notice, she seems to be driving. I'm more comfortable with her driving than I was in the first few years we were together, whereas I was always comfortable with your driving even in the first years. Okay, so I can see that difference, or could, and today I can see the very difference when there's music that somehow you and she are involved in. I mean, it's really distinct when you come into her body in the middle of whatever, when music comes on, but I still don't see the difference when she sees some beautiful sight, or she smells some beautiful fragrance, or senses or touches something beautiful. Except I see when she looks at babies, often Esther takes on a different demeanor that I often wonder, I've never asked this before, if that is